The following podcast is brought to you by Iconic Nation Media. Welcome to In Studio with Kimberly Lovey, where mindset meets motherhood, media meets mogul energy, and every episode feels like a front row seat to the life you're meant to lead. The podcast where ambition meets authenticity and we make success look oh so good, all while having lots of laughs. I'm Kimberly Lovey, wife, mom of three, founder of Iconic Nation Media, and the CEO who's been there, built that, all while chasing toddlers and even making an occasional appearance on the tennis courts. This show is your front row seat to the real talk behind building a brand, raising a family, and becoming the most iconic version of you. We cover business, mindset, motherhood, media, and all the messy moments in between. Every week, I'm joined by visionaries, creators, and changemakers who aren't afraid to share the unfiltered magic behind their come up. This isn't just a podcast. This is your all-access pass to finally play big. Let's play boldly, beautifully, and unapologetically together. So grab your matcha, fix that crown, and get ready to step into the studio. In Studio with Kimberly Lovey, because your next level has been waiting. And it's fabulous. All right, everybody, welcome back to In Studio. I'm your host, Kimberly Lovey, and today I am joined by one of my dear, dear friends, Roman Gabriel III. Welcome.
Kim, I'm here at Iconic Media, and it's been a long time coming, but I think I'm going to live here. This is absolutely incredible studio, and I'm so glad to be on your show finally. I can't believe you waited this long to get me on. I mean, it's not like I can't drive across the country if I need to.
Yes, because Roman over here is, he actually lives on the East Coast, so having you here is really an honor.
But born right outside the studio, that's where I live, where I grew up, where I went to high school.
Literally, probably like next door. Yeah. I don't know. You're a local. You went to Agora High School. Shout out.
Shout out to the Chargers, by the way, going to the playoffs. Won their conference. I'm excited for them. Always excited that our boys are doing great. So yeah, this was where I grew up. This is where God placed my family and I. And if you asked me if there was anywhere else I wanted to grow up, there was nowhere else besides here. We had an incredible childhood in beautiful Westlake Village, California.
Yes. And I grew up, maybe a little bit later than you, but also in this area, so it's near and dear.
Beautiful Oak Park.
And anyway, so Roman I've been introducing you as football royalty because it's just easier, because it's just easier. So Roman, you played yourself in the NFL. Can you tell us about your experience?
My path to pro football was so much different than my dad's. For those of you who are young, my dad was Roman Gabriel. He was the quarterback for the Los Angeles Rams from 1962 to 72 and one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. So I got to watch what that looks like growing up every single day, what commitment, dedication, and being a professional is. So, if I were a doctor's son or a lawyer's son or whatever it was, that's what I probably would have wanted to be. But my dad was a pro football player, and I was pretty naive. So when I was about 7 years old, I pretty much told every friend I had what I want to do is play professional football and be a quarterback like my dad. And people laughed at me and said, "Who are you to think that you can do that when your dad's done this and you're about this tall?" But I knew what it took. I saw it every single day. And one of the things that drove me was I just had a passion for it because he had a passion for it. And so when I was a kid, my dad would go off to practice at 7 in the morning, and he wouldn't be back until usually 6 o'clock at night for dinner. But as soon as dinner was over, he went in his little study and with his old 16 millimeter projector, and he would watch film of the team that he was going to play that week. And he'd spend 3 to 4 hours a night watching film to make sure he knew exactly what he was up against and what he needed to do. So I would beg him to come in. And so I would sit on his lap and I would watch the film, and he would spend 15 minutes on one play clicking it back and forth, and I'd say, "Dad, when are you going to let it go forward? I want to see what happens." He goes, "What I'm trying to do right now is I'm trying to decipher everything that these guys do, so I know in a game exactly what they're going to do, so I know what I need to do." So I spent time doing that. I begged him to play football when I was about 9 years old. He let me start playing tackle football when I was 9. So he was a guy that was drafted right out of a high school by the Yankees because he could have played professional baseball. He played basketball. So football was second to baseball. And so he was an even better baseball player from what people tell me.
Wow.
So when he came out, he's the number 1 draft pick of the NFL, number 1 draft pick in the AFL, the American Football League. So, he was matured in college was 6'4", 220 pounds. I was 5'7", 135 down the street here, sophomore year in high school.
Yeah, but now you're 6'6".
Oh, but they were laughing at me then too, because it's like I told them I want to play pro football. They said, "You're not even starting on the JV team. How could you possibly play pro football?" Because I knew at some point I was going to grow. So between my sophomore junior year, I grew from 5'7" to 6'2", and then I had my opportunity to start at Agora High School and took our team to the quarterfinals of the CIF out here and got myself on the map. And people like the LA Times started writing about Roman Gabriel's son being a really good quarterback right here. And so I ended up every place I went. I wasn't like my dad where, I kind of got the backside and I brought it on myself. I wore his number in Pop Warner. I was proud of that. Oh. But, there are a lot of people out there who didn't like, that, I was trying to be like my dad. And so a lot of coaches would make me prove it, even though I was better than the guy in front of me. I didn't start because they were like, hey, I'm not going to make it look like Roman Gabriel's son's getting an advantage here. But that ended up playing to my strengths. So I ended up at every level getting my opportunity. And one of the things that my dad told me at a young age was, I don't care what the coach thinks about you. I don't care about whether you think you're being treated fairly or not. You just work your butt off every day and you be prepared like you're starting. And when you get that opportunity, when someone gets hurt or the coach says, we're going to give you your chance, it may only happen once, but you make sure when you take it that you never give it back. And so I did that at every level.
Preparation, you prepare. And I think that's such a great life lesson. Also, we had talked about this and you said this in your speech. We can talk about the fact that you're here because he was being honored in the Asian Hall of Fame. But something that you shared with the entire room that night is something I won't forget. And we talked about it and giggled about it last night, which is that champions, what is his saying? You say it.
His saying, every athlete at that time, you didn't have social media or anything like that. So your autograph picture was everything. So, thousands of people would ask for his autograph in the mail and they would send it to our house. Will you please sign this for me? So, he wanted to make a difference. Even if he never met someone, he wanted to inspire people. So he would say to whoever it was, a champion gives 110%, Roman Gabriel. So I asked him when I was a kid, I said, Dad, what does that mean? 110%, most people say 100% is all you can do. He said, well, what it means is that you're willing to do the extra. You're willing to do the things that most people aren't willing to do to be great. And so that made sense to me because I saw that every day, that my dad worked just as hard when nobody was watching every day.
That's it.
And a lot of times, what he would tell me is, if you really want to be great in anything, especially football, when the season starts till the season's over, the work's already been done. You basically got what you got. But when the off season starts, those days when nobody's watching, when you feel like you don't want to do it, when you feel like everybody else is having fun but you, and you're in the weight room and you're out throwing the ball when it's raining. And there were times in my life where guys didn't want to come out there and catch the ball for whatever reason. So I put a net up between the goalposts and I would throw 100, 200 balls into a net.
Wow.
By myself, and there were times in high school where all my friends were partying. I can remember, it's different from kids today. My parents went on many vacations when I was 13 to 18 years old here because I didn't want to leave my team. I was not going to give anybody an opportunity, so I would not miss a practice or a game, not for anything.
I love that.
So I stayed with friends and missed a lot of things.
Wow.
But that's the sacrifice my dad talked about. And, one of the things that I learned too from my mom is that you can take that same sacrifice and apply it to all of your areas of your life.
Right.
And balance was something that I learned from my mom, which is, you need to put the same energy into your relationships, the same energy into your business, what you do after school, the same things, in terms of service to others. So my parents were a great combination because my mom was this real encourager, like, hey, You can do it. You can do anything you set your mind to. I'm supporting you no matter what. And of course, she was there to pick me up too when you're disappointed or had failure. But my dad was the driver, the
Right.
triple type A. Like, hey, no excuses, no quitting. One of his rules was, I don't care if you don't want to do it again, but you're going to finish. Because if you're not willing to finish in the small things, you won't finish in the big things later on. And that's what I tell my kids.
I love that.
I tell
love
it to them
that.
all the time.
That's what I love so much about sports, even though I'm not super educated on the details of it. For me, it's about, and this is really applies to my kids as well, is I don't care if their team is winning or losing at the end of the day, because my kids are 9 and 8 and 3. She's too young. But to me, it's all about the character building. And that's something that I see. This is why I personally really enjoy working with professional athletes, is because it's the character that they bring. It's the discipline, it's the focus, it's the effort, it's the accountability in everything they do. And, and that 10% that your dad talks about, we were joking because you would say to him, how come not 111%?
I used to get on his nerves doing that just to get him to explain it to me.
But it's what I was going to say is that time that he took when he came home to study film, that's that 10% extra.
Yeah, and he did that physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and for me, my mom exposed me to the spiritual side of my life. She felt like, God bless you with your abilities. God gave you the ability to do what you do. He lets you wake up every day. He surrounded you with good family and friends, and you have what you need to be successful. Some people don't always have that. So I really was taught to appreciate what you have. And that's the way I feel today is, God has played such a big part of my life, because you can get overwhelmed with, the problems in life and the minor things in life. And when you do come up against, life-altering situations that can hurt you in your life, you need to have a foundation. So
yes.
For me, there was a lot of pressure, and that was self-fulfilling pressure, because I chose to do the same thing my dad did. I mean, he was playing up until the time I graduated from high school. He played 17 years.
Wow.
So most football players, the average is 2.7 years. But, I was naive. So it's like, I thought every professional player played 17 years. I mean, so, for me, that naivete kind of helped a little bit, because I had blinders on. But I can tell you today that every lesson that is major in my life that I learned came from team sports. It came from my dad. It came from my mom. And my mom was a competitor too. I mean, she was tough. My parents divorced when I was 9 out here, when people didn't divorce. And it was public. It was in the newspaper. It was in the media. I heard it from friends in high school. So, my mom took up the mantle, during our most formative years. And she was the one that washed all the dirty clothes. She was the one that put us all in the car and took us to practice every day, didn't leave, put a chair out there, watched it all. She was the one at every game. She was the one that, when we were disappointed, picked us up. My dad was traded to the Eagles, so he was busy playing pro football. So he didn't really come back in my life in a major way until I graduated from high school. So I went to live with him, played a couple years of junior college football, and he put me through a 2-year boot camp of, this is what, if you want to play pro football, you want to play major college football, I'm going to show you every aspect of what has to happen for you to do that. So he really set the tone for me, set the work habits, told me the mental and physical things that had to be done. But it was my mom who was the person who was more concerned about my personal growth, was
Right.
more concerned about the person that I need to be. Mm-hmm. So the person I am today is a combination of both my parents. I'm a triple type A, but I also am very sensitive. I'm very, I care about people. I care about, being the person that I need to be. It's a responsibility that my parents gave to me that's like, it's not all about you. It's about using your talents and abilities to make other people's lives better. And that's why our foundation, the Sold Out You Foundation, I love to do. It's a passion, because I get to help the next generation of kids, whether it's drug and alcohol prevention, whether it's character development, whether it's just helping them to have the skills they need to give themselves the best chance to be successful in life. I'm impacting more people today than I ever could playing pro football.
Well, and that's the thing that I am so impressed with, is this is a man that is so well connected. You are truly, look, we were at the Super Bowl together, And I am not kidding. Every 3 steps, he knew there's Lee Steinberg, there's this owner, there's this player, there's this media outlet. You grew up in this. You know everybody in this sports and entertainment world. And what I find to be so magnificent is that you have chosen to take all of that celebrity, fame, award, connections, relationships, and pour it back into the community, as opposed to, which we're going to talk all about that in a second, as opposed to making it all about you. Look at me, I'm so amazing. You know, your family's been honored in every which Pro Bowl and this Hall of Fame and that. I mean, it is really remarkable, the legacy that the name that you carry has, but the way you have chosen to spend your time and your energy beyond that is what really makes you remarkable in my eyes.
Well, my dad had a way of doing things. When you're a AAA hard worker, my dad was no nonsense. That generation of fathers, when I grew up, it was all about discipline. Love was shown by the way that they treated you and the things that they had you do.
Right.
It wasn't about words. Now, my mom, thank God, it was about words. I love you. I love you. I love you. I had the balance.
Nurturing and that.
That's right.
Hardcore.
And so my mom was unselfish the same way. So when I graduated from high school, the day after I graduated, my dad was living in Palm Springs. He had a house there. He wanted me to come live with him because he wanted to help me to prepare for what my goal and dream was, to play pro football. So she looked at me and she said, I've done my job. I've done everything I can for you to this point, but it's time to leave. It's time for you to go live with your father. Let him do what he does best. But the cool thing is that she had already established a foundation in my life to which I knew what right and wrong was, and I also knew what's expected of you as a person. And
I love that.
You know, the thing now, the way I honor my dad's legacy, and I'm so proud to have his name, I'm so proud to have followed the same path he did. Now, I had an injury that took me out a couple years in pro football, which ends up being a blessing because it made me transition to what my next step that God had for me in my life. And that was, I learned sales and media and public relations. I went into sports broadcasting. I went in, you know, I've been a member of the media in the NFL for 25 years. So I knew the people that played with my dad, that generation. I knew the generation that played with me in the 80s. And then I have known all the young generations coming up since then. So my template is a little different than my dad's, still honors my dad, but I'm just a different person. We look a lot alike, and he gave me all the physical tools I needed to be talented, but I feel like I can do more for my father's legacy today now that he's gone. That's not to say I don't miss my dad. He passed away at 83, but we did things differently, and he was himself and I'm myself. So what I'm trying to do now is my dad, you know, he didn't talk about all the charity things. He just went out and did it. You know, he didn't care. You know, he raised, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, millions of dollars for children's charities, leukemia, cancer. And whenever people came to him for help, he helped them to set up a way to raise awareness and money. It was something he was really good at. And of course, when you're as famous as he was, people want to help, especially when they know you're not full of yourself. You know, so my dad was that kind of person. And it kind of makes me, the proudest thing about I can tell you is the day that my dad was memorialized at SoFi 2 years ago for the Cowboys game. People sent, when my dad died, they sent me emails, they sent me texts, they sent me social networking stuff. They reached out. And the one thing that they said about him that I knew that I really didn't have cognizance of, I didn't realize the impact that he had, not as a football player, but as a person. They would all say the same thing. I met your dad once, and he took time to talk to me. He came to my restaurant once. He sent something to my son, an autographed picture. One time when I needed help, your dad reached out and helped me. He answered my letter. So
wow.
My dad answered every letter that came to him. He felt it was a responsibility as a professional football player to interact with his fans. So for him, what he did on Sundays was just an extension of what he wanted to do for his fans. So when he was honored 2 years ago at SoFi, the standing ovation and the 18 jerseys that were out there that day. People that were my age, that were kids like I was, went to see him play, and their statement was, "It's the first time that my dad took me to a Rams game together, and we got to enjoy watching your dad play. It was a memory my dad and I will always have." And so that tie that all these people have to him is very emotional, because it isn't about him. It's about an experience that they had with someone they loved. Right. And so what I want to do for my dad's legacy is, yes, the other night when he received, he would have absolutely been ecstatic to be inducted in the Asian Hall of Fame, because his Filipino heritage came from his father, who came over from the Philippines. He idolized his father. His father worked 16 hours a day on the railroad. He worked in the kitchen as a chef, and he came and gave my dad the opportunity to pursue his dreams. So my dad was proud when I chose to do what he wanted to do. So we always had that in common. But I also was an example to my dad, because he was a kid when he came out here. He was right out of college. Small town, Wilmington, North Carolina was a town of, out in the middle of nowhere. Mm-hmm. So he was drafted into Hollywood, Los Angeles. He was automatically exposed to all of this. And when you're idolized by people to that point, it doesn't matter how grounded you are, it impacts you. Because for him, it was like, he was like the center of the universe here. He was dealing with people in Hollywood. He was doing movies. He was doing shows. Anything he wanted to do charity-wise, people were providing him the ability to impact people. And as a Ram, he still is one of the most famous Rams to ever play, and one of the most famous quarterbacks ever. So what I want to do for his legacy is I want to do the thing that meant more to him, which was making an impact in people's lives. So if I can bring happiness to somebody who watched my dad play, but then transition them to say, I may have the same name and I may have the same interest, but I need your help. Our foundation is about drug and alcohol prevention, which is the biggest taker of lives of our kids in this country. Fentanyl right now, which we have a fentanyl education program that's online in public schools, that's simple, that schools can execute. We have numerous, it's ridiculous. 500,000 people have died from fentanyl poisoning because they didn't know what it was over the last 5 years.
Well, and I'm so glad you started talking about that, Roman, because your impact in the drug and alcohol prevention space is really remarkable. For those of you that remember, not to date myself, but it's almost like the modern day DARE program, which we went through when we were, back in the day. But what makes me so interested in what it is that you're doing is I look at what you're doing through the eyes of a mother. I have 3 young kids, 9, 8, and 3. And what do I know about fentanyl? That wasn't even a thing that I was aware of growing up. We had other drugs. But when you were educating me, it could be like a fleck on the table that it gets on your finger.
A grain of salt.
It is, as you say it's not a drug, it's poison.
Well, so for your audience that doesn't know, because I never like to think that everybody does.
Yes, we don't. Tell us.
Fentanyl is a poison. It's not a drug. It's not like the 70s and cocaine problem they had. This is a odorless, tasteless product that if we were to pour a grain of salt on my finger, it could kill both of us. And the problem is that our the drugs in our country have been forever tainted by this poison. So this poison is being inserted into things like cocaine, MMA, heroin, even marijuana, in some instances vape. And the bad guys that send this over into Mexico with the derivative that makes fentanyl, they have these printing presses that make pharmaceutical grade pills. It's the same thing that you get when you get at a pharmacy. So it could be a Vicodin, a Xanax, a pharmaceutical pill. They press this fentanyl. It's not measured. They pour the powder in. They put it in the casing. They press it like any other pharmaceutical pill with all the same insignias. And then they take that and they take it into our country, get it to the drug dealers, and the cartels bring it in here unfettered like they have the last 7 years. So we have this massive amount of fentanyl that has been allowed to come into our country. So I don't care what your politics are. I don't care about what party you're in, and I don't care about what you think politically about this. It's the number one health crisis our country has faced. It's the number 2 killer of 5 to 14-year-olds. 5 to 14-year-olds. It's the number 1 killer of teenagers in our country and the number 1 killer of 18 to 45-year-olds. So when I go into a public school with our program, we're not just talking about the kids, we're talking about their parents.
Exactly.
So bad actors on Snapchat are coming after our children, selling these fake pharmaceutical pills online. And our kids get around the safety protocols. They're thinking they're buying something pharmaceutical, and they're really getting a death drug. And so the bottom line is we have 22 students a month that are going down to this. Right now in our country, this has killed there's only one teenage thing that kills kids more from 5 to 14-year-olds is suicide. So what we need in our country right now is we're doing everything from the government standpoint to try to keep this from coming in the country and going after the bad guys who are approaching our kids. But what we need is a massive education program for the American people. You just said it. You didn't know about it.
No.
And if parents don't know about it, how do they protect their kids?
Right.
So the most important thing you can do you don't need to talk to your friends about it. That's hard to do sometimes. Go to soldouttv.com, which is the official website, soldouttv.com. Click on fentanyl education at the top of the page. Take the link. Send it to your family. Send it to your grandparents. Send it to your friends. Talk to your children about it. Make sure they understand what it is. We have a page for kids on there where it just goes through the basics for them. So we use the school's dissemination system, their computer curriculum, and their portals that are set up to speak daily to parents and staff. And this program can be disseminated online in a homeroom or an elective class, and it can be done in 15 minutes. So in 15 minutes of one classroom period, of one classroom day, of one semester, of one school year, we can educate 84% of the high-risk kids reside in public schools. So what we're talking to the federal government about and state governments and school districts about is we've made this simple for you. The number one goal of a school is to keep their kids and parents safe. Overall, first thing, we're going to give you the tool to be able to make sure that staff, administration, parents, and students are safe. So once they know what they're up against, then they can make decisions based upon the facts.
Right.
So that's what we need, and that's what we're doing with our program. And our public site at soldouttv.com has all sorts of cool tools for your kids. It has a character life skills program. It has a health and wellness program. It has all sorts of research information. So mom and dad, we know you're busy taking care of your kids and on the job. We did all the research for you. All you have to do is go on the link and click the buttons, and it pulls up everything that you need to know. And I know it's uncomfortable sometimes because you're afraid or maybe tentative about talking to your kids. How do I talk to them about drugs and alcohol? Here's the cool thing. If you reach out to me at soldouttv@gmail.com, I'll send you for free our parental program. I'll send it to you so it will go over with you how to talk to your kids about it, how to build hope in your kids, how to build character in your kids. So we're not just interested in warning your kids. We want to give you tools to develop your relationship with your children, to talk about this really hard thing so that your kids can grow up to be successful and have every opportunity like I and Kim did to be successful and to reach their full potential. One more thing, most kids, whether they're a girl or boy, their brains aren't fully developed till they're 21 to 24. So in our drug and alcohol abstinence program, where we challenge kids to make that commitment that drugs aren't going to be a part of their lifestyle and their success plan, we just want to get them till they're of age, till they hit 21. So if their brains are fully developed, we're giving them the best opportunity to stay safe and the best opportunity for you to teach them the things they need to know when you send them off to a job or college. You'll know that they're prepared, mature, accountable, that they're fully developed. Because all of us know here in California, there's probably more rehab places and recovery places, and they're full. And once your child decides to go down that path, all bets are off. 50% are going to go back to rehab no matter how hard they try to get over the addiction. So we love you and care about your kids. So if you want our program to come into your school district, reach out at soldouttv@gmail.com. We'll send you the information. We'll do all the work. But if your school doesn't have a drug and alcohol prevention or a fentanyl education program, we want to help you. To state and federal governments, and corporations out there. And Kim was so great to come to my dad's induction at the Asian Hall of Fame, where we had business people, we had corporate leaders, athletes, politicians, all from Asian descent that have the same story I did, made it through all the way to where they wanted in their life. But the cool thing we learned that night is they all want to help.
Yes.
So we have companies that have reached out to us. So if you're a company out there, your dad or grandparent, you own a company, we're a 501c3 nonprofit. You want to get involved in helping save your kids and other kids' lives? Come on the team. Come join us in this fight. We'll be at Super Bowl with Iconic Media. I love Iconic Media because Kim and I are going to work together not only to put great content out for you from leaders and high-profile people from across the spectrum, which he does so well, but we're also going to be there with our hashtag fentanyl program, our Tackling Fentanyl program, where we're going to team up with the NFL, with players and coaches. We're going to go to schools. We're going to team up with law enforcement. And we're going to use the biggest event in the world, the Super Bowl, to promote our message and our information so we can keep kids safe.
Yeah. And I really appreciate you educating me personally. And I didn't realize that the education is so important because there's so much fentanyl here already that it's something we just have to know about. And I don't know about it, right? I didn't, just like most of my friends and our kids. So what you're doing is beyond remarkable.
What we're doing is iconic. That's what iconic means. Iconic means that you're doing something at a big scale, and you're bringing everybody into the game so that all of us benefit.
Yes.
And so that's what I love about Iconic Nation. The bottom line is
thank you.
What you guys are doing is, and Kim, that's why, we were introduced by a very close friend that I've known for 30 years, who's his podcast is on your site, Leonard Wheeler, a really good friend of mine. Leonard is like me. When I started my foundation back in 2003, guess who? Leonard said, I'm coming from Charlotte. I want to support what you're doing. And he has supported me from the start. So that's what's cool about the NFL community is you may have played 1 year, you may have played 5, 10, you're a Hall of Famer. All of us are in this together to use our platform to make a difference in people's lives. Yep. So the bottom line is I'm so pleased that I'm finally here, that I'm with you on this stage. And I hope that when you watch this, that you'll go to our website at soldouttv.com. Please take the link, send it to all your friends, send it to your family, send it to your kids. I'm not asking you to talk about what is a tough subject to talk about. I'm just asking you to use your device, take the link, and send the videos and the links and the information. And all you have to do is say, hey, I really care about you. This is something I need you to know. Take a look at this.
Amazing. I'm so proud of what you're doing, and thank you so much for helping me help you in any way I can. And the impact you have made already is truly remarkable. And I'm just so proud to know you and to get this important information and program out to the world. So thank you for being here.
Well, the Iconic Nation Media, Kim and I are going to have a big announcement coming up soon here. We got some things working here, and I'm really excited about that you're going to be excited about. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
And we're, of course, looking forward. Super Bowl is right around the corner.
Yep.
I will say this, though. I've been in media, my Roman Gabriel television show, YouTube show, American Family radio show, podcast. We've been established for a long time. It's all about high-impact athletes, celebrities, politicians, and other people that make a difference in people's lives. It's going to be coming to Iconic Media, so I'm very excited about that, the Roman Gabriel show.
Let's go.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
So I'm so proud and so honored to be working with Iconic Nation Media and with you, Kim. You have done an incredible job. You have put together a structure here that's going to benefit so many. And we're just excited to be able to bring what we do to Iconic Media so that we can, through your process and through this media outlet, get people educated faster.
Yes, just protecting our kids, protecting our families, and that's all it is that you're trying to do. And the impact you're making is very aligned with what it is our company's all about. So we're just really grateful to be a part of it in any way we can be. So thank you for coming on and sharing everything you're doing and that you've done. And thank you, everyone. I will make sure to put all of the links in the show notes if you want to reach out to Roman directly. As he mentioned, we'll make sure that email's in there for you and the program is available to you. So thank you very much for coming.
Kim, it's been iconic.
All right. Bye, everyone. All right. That is it for today. Thank you very much for listening, and be sure to follow us at Iconic Nation Media and send us a direct message and comment on some of our posts so that we can hear your feedback and incorporate them into our show. We appreciate you listening, and we look forward to catching you next week.